Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Kaylee and these are my books. Today's video is my May TBR video where I play my TBRLAND, which is a TBR game inspired by Candyland to figure out what books I will be reading in the month of May. Now, before we start the TBR game though, there are two important orders of business. First of which is I need to let you all know that I am co-host for Lexi's Readathon, which is called Escape the Readathon. Lexi's channel is Books with Lexi. She will be linked in the description box down below. And she created this incredible readathon for the month of May. Escape the Readathon is going to be a huge community-based readathon that supports mood reading. It supports reading any genre you want. Basically, the goal is as a team, we are trying to escape this haunted house. But you do not need to only read horror books. You can read whatever kind of books you want. Lexi's announcement video will be linked in the description box below. I invite you all to go check out Lexi's announcement video, sign up for the readathon, and join Team Film Crew, because that is my team, so obviously it is the best team. And then second important order of business, I started a Patreon, and one of the perks of my top tier is that my patrons get to choose a book for me to read every 2 months. So I have all of my top tiers book choices in this jar. So now every 2 months I will be pulling one book out of this jar and I have to read it. They could recommend me any book. It could be a book of any genre, a book of any length. They could be recommending it to me because they think I'll love it. Or they could be recommending it to me because they think I'll hate it and they think it might be funny to watch me read it. It's up to them. They could do whatever they want. So let's choose the very first Patreon book choice. I'm just gonna shake them up a bit. Shake, shake, shake. I'm pulling one from the bottom. Let's see. Blue Exorcist from Tammy. This is really exciting because this is a manga series and Tammy said it's one of her favorite manga series, and I have been wanting to try out more manga because I've recently been reading and really enjoying Spy Family. I've read and enjoyed all of the volumes that are currently out of Blood on the Tracks, so I'm super stoked to read Blue Exorcist. So thank you, Tammy, for this suggestion. All right, now that those important orders of business are out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into my TBR game. All right, first card pull. One purple, so we land on the thriller space. All right, so first card pull put us on thriller, and this is a pretty open prompt, you know, just choose any thriller, and actually made me think about it for a long time because I feel like there was just too many books I could choose from. But I ended up going with Pines by Blake Crouch. I've been wanting to read this for so long. I know Lexi, this is like one of her favorite series of all time. This is the first book, and I have heard that the first book is very much a sci-fi thriller where the other books kind of move more into sci-fi horror. And so this is by Blake Crouch. Blake Crouch is the guy who wrote Recursion, Dark Matter, Upgrade, and I've given all of those books 5 stars. And this is a sci-fi thriller where we have a Secret Service agent who arrives in this small town in Idaho, and all he's trying to do is locate 2 missing agents in this small town. However, things start going really weird in the small town. Like, he starts having communication issues, he starts not being able to potentially leave the small town, and basically there's lots of mysteries in this small town and lots of things that make it seem like this small town has a way bigger secret that it's hiding. Second card pull, one pink. All right, so now we are on the backlist thriller or horror space. Next card pull moved us oh so far, and we landed on a backlist thriller or horror book. And for this, I'm gonna go with Tastes Like Candy. This is a horror slasher that is on Kindle Unlimited. I've heard a lot of really promising things about this book, and I love slashers so much. I love KU horror, and so I'm excited to give this one a go. I really don't know much beyond the fact that it's a slasher though. I am so sorry, but look at this cover. Look at this cover. I mean, that looks so creepy in like a cute way. Oh, I do know that I think it has at some part like a carnival setting, I believe, but really that's it. That's all I needed to know. Slasher, small carnival setting, and people have really enjoyed it. I'm in. Sign me up. Third card pull, and I feel like we're still at the beginning of the board, so hopefully we get some good movement in this card pull. Oh my god, things are not looking good. One purple. recent release. We've moved one spot and we got a recent release for thriller and horror. Third card pull brought us barely anywhere. I'm like getting nervous, but we got a recent release. So we've got the backlist, now we've got the recent release to go with it. And for this, it was really easy for me to decide because I want to read the new Taylor Adams books, The Last Word. I'm fingers crossed hoping that's the book of the month choice, but as of filming, the book of the month choices are not out yet for May. But if it is a May book choice, I'm totally spending my credit on that because I really love No Exit. And I actually liked Hairpin Bridge quite a bit too. I know everyone hated Taylor Adams' second book, but I loved it. This new one, The Last Word, people have been giving 5 stars. So many people I've been seeing have been saying best thriller of the year, best book of the year. And I'm like, Taylor Adams is back on his A game apparently because everyone loved No Exit, including me. And I definitely liked No Exit more than Hairpin Bridge, but I just also really liked Hairpin Bridge. I don't know what's wrong with me. But basically, I'm so excited to read The Last Word. Taylor Adams is known for writing these super, super tense thrillers where you just have to read it in one sitting because the whole time you're just stressed out. And that's what I want to feel. I know that The Last Word involves some like bookish conversations too. I believe like this whole thriller is set up about an author receiving a bad review on a book. I could be wrong though. I really don't want to look into the synopsis too much before reading it because this is the kind of book that I really think I want to be surprised by every twist and turn, and sometimes the synopsis gives you way too much. We are already on our 4th card pull and we haven't even finished this first go, so let's see. We're still getting the singles. All right. An isolated setting, thriller or horror. Our 4th card pool still leaves us in the thriller and horror section, but we did land on isolated setting. So I had to do some thinking about this because of course it's not immediately obvious which books have isolated settings. But I remembered I talked to Kelsey recently from Slime and Slashers about cabin horror books because Lexi was needing some recommendations, and Kelsey had mentioned a book called Off Season. And she said she really likes this book and I really want to read it because I'm down for any sort of cabin horror book. So because this takes place at an isolated cabin for most of the time with some small town plot, I'm going to count it for this isolated setting plot. This is a horror book. I've heard it's incredibly gory. I've heard it's pretty fast paced. I've heard it's really tense. That's everything I want in a horror book. So I'm excited to give it a go, especially since Kelsey loved it. And I love Kelsey, so I think I'm going to love this book too. 5th card pull. Double pink, finally good movement, finally good movement. Okay, so we're moving past continuous series and then we have a backlist fantasy or sci-fi. Our 5th card pull finally took us out of the thriller and horror section and into the fantasy and sci-fi section, and we landed on a backlist fantasy or science fiction book. And so for the backlist option, I am going with Deadbeat. This is book 6 or book 7, I always forget, but it's the next book I need to read in the Harry Dresden files. This is a very long urban fantasy series about a wizard detective, and the books start out episodic, but then as you read more and more books, the plot starts kind of like connecting more and more. And I love this series so much. I think Harry Dresden is such a fun character to read about. Does he have his issues? Of course, but at the end of the day, are these books incredibly entertaining? Yes, they are. So I'm really excited to continue on in this series. All right, time for our 6th card pull. 1 purple, oh gosh. A recent release fantasy or sci-fi. Next up, we landed on a recent release science fiction or fantasy book, and I feel like we have a trend here in our card pulls because we've gotten backlist and recent release for the thriller and horror section, and now backlist and recent release for the fantasy and science fiction section. I don't know why that happened. But for the recent release, I'm going with Kaiju Preservation Society. So this is a science fiction book about alternate universe, alternate reality dinosaurs, and I've heard it being compared to Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park so much, so I'm really excited to get to this book, and this very well might end up being my Patreon book club's choice for May. My top tier is still voting, so I'm not completely sure if this will get chosen, but right now this book is winning, so it very well could be the book club pick, in which case I have to read it anyways. Even if a different book gets chosen for my Nightly Readers book club, I'm still gonna read this one in May because I'm really excited about it. Time for our 7th card pull. Fingers crossed it's a good one. Okay, this is good movement. This is really good movement because we're moving past the Indian self-pub prompt
into the KU romance prompt.
The 7th card pull took us into the romance section and we landed on a KU romance, which leaves the options wide open, luckily, because there are so many romances I want to be reading on Kindle Unlimited. The one I'm choosing is Ashes in the Star-Cursed King. So this is book 2 in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. The first book is Serpents in the Wings of Night, and if you watch my fantasy romance vlog video, you know that Serpents in the Wings of Night was one of my favorite books that I've ever read ever. And therefore, of course, I need to read the sequel. And this is a duology, so the story is going to end for these main characters in Ashes on the Star-Cursed King. And I am stressed, but I am excited, and I need to read it immediately. This book will likely be my very first book of May.
Now for our 8th card pull. Double pink. Really good movement there. Okay, so we're moving past Mafia and into a reverse harem romance.
Next up, we made a lot of good movement in the romance section and we landed on a reverse harem romance. And this, I was thinking about a couple different options because there are a couple reverse harem romances that I've really been wanting to read, but then I remembered I never ended up finishing some of the Tate James interconnected series. So I read the Madison Kate series, I read the Hades series, but I never finished the Guild series. I never read book 3. I'm not even sure if book 3 is the conclusion or not, but I know book 3 is out and I have not yet read it. So I will be reading Kill Order by Tate James. This is book 3 in the Guild series. And again, these are all reverse harem. They're all interconnected, but the Guild series follows a separate set of characters from the Madison Kate series, which are separate from the Hades series. There's just some cameos made of different characters throughout all of the series. And the Guild series started out so strong for me, and then book 2, it went down to a low 3-star. So I'm really hoping this book 3, Kill Order, brings it back up to that 5-star because I gave the first book 5 stars. I loved it. This is a very much a dark romance reverse harem series. So they are all mercenaries, which is kind of cool. So they're all pretty much like badasses. You can think about the woman as being like Black Widow before she joined Marvel. That's kind of the vibe of the character, and I just think it's so fun to read about like the spy stuff, to read about like the politics going on between all these different factions. It's not necessarily mafia romance, but it involves like a mercenary guild and an assassins guild, and so it's got some similar vibes from mafia romance, definitely.
Time for our 9th card pull, possibly the last one. Let's see. 1 pink, it is the last one. Okay, so we've moved to the mood read and we've completed our board for the month.
And then our last card pull got us to the very end of the board, which means we landed on mood read. However, a mood read is only a mood read if I finish my TBR from the month before, and I did not. Instead of a mood read, this space means I have to choose a randomly selected book, and the way I do this is I have a shelf behind you that is full of my unread books, and I give each shelf a number and I have a random generator choose one of the numbers, and then I count each book on that shelf and I have a random generator choose a number of the books on the shelf. And so it randomly selected House of Cotton, which I'm actually very excited about because I have an arc of this book. I believe the book is out now. Yeah, it came out in April at some time. And this is a horror gothic book, I believe. Yeah, so the top of the arc here says a stunning contemporary Black Southern Gothic debut novel, which sounds incredible. I think the cover is really, really nice. And so I'm not sure like how much of horror versus contemporary this is, but I'm pretty sure it has a really heavy gothic atmosphere, which I have been loving gothic atmospheres lately. Last month I read Last Tale of the Flower Bride, which has a very strong gothic atmosphere throughout, and it's one of my favorite books of the month. I gave it 5 stars, so I'm excited to continue on with the gothic vibes in House of Cotton. All right, that is it for my TBR. I got really worried at first because we were not making much progress at the beginning, but it ended up working in my favor because I was wanting to read mostly horror and just generally spooky books this month, because even though for Escape the Readathon you can read any genre you want, because I do enjoy spooky books, I thought it would be really fun to theme my reading to match like the haunted house that we're trapped in. And it seemed like the board cooperated quite a bit because most of my pulls were from the thriller and horror section and not many from the fantasy sci-fi section or the romance section. So thank you, board. I thought you were being mean at first, but you were actually being very nice. As a reminder, please consider signing up for Escape the Readathon. It's gonna be so fun. It's all month long in May. There are so many cool people participating. I'm so excited to hang out with you all on even more sprints in May. We're just continuing the momentum from Realmathon and pushing it into May as well. And let me know down in the comments what your May TBRs look like, and especially let me know if you've read any of the books on my May TBR, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts about any of them. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more content, and I'll see you next time. Bye!